On this week's show, Chisom sits down with WNYC host of All Things Considered, Jami Floyd, and U.S. lead for Twitter Moments, Mabry. We have a recap of the year, and we say goodbye to our seniors and introduce the second L10 News Board. Lawrenceville's 10-minute newscast begins right now. From the Lawrenceville School's historic Pop Hall, this is L10 with Ghael. Hello and welcome to this week's show. The Allegro Council hosted the annual Senior Allegro Show. The event was held in the Clark Music Building and was the final Lawrenceville performance for several members of the class of 2016. Nico has won second place in the microbiology category at the Intel International Science and Engineering Fair in Phoenix, Arizona. Kopal was honored for his research on testing malaria with smartphones. Ariel Claxon has once again broken her own school record in the 400 meters. She ran the distance in 57.48 seconds to finish third in the Mercer County Championships. The Robotics Club placed 5th overall in the regional bot-ball tournament. Led by club presidents Ricky Williams, Shrey Chowdhury, and Neil Ajarapu, the team earned top honors for both design and documentation. Kyle Fram has been invited to the men's junior national team selection camp for rowing. If selected, Fram will travel to the Netherlands in August to compete in the Junior World Rowing Championships. On Monday, our executive producer and senior news correspondent Chisom Ilogu had a chance to sit down with WNYC host of All Things Considered, Jami Floyd, and former editor-at-large of the New York Times and U.S. lead for Twitter Moments, Mabry.
How has race affected this year's presidential election?
Not enough.
Some people would say too much, but you go.
Well, I think really we're going to see gender playing a big role going forward, because now we're at the point where we have our, I think, presumptive nominee for the GOP.
Absolutely.
And we're getting close to seeing a Democratic pick, although that'll probably be made at the convention.
Yeah, it'll certainly take longer, at least till June.
Yeah. And who would have thought? We would have probably thought we'd have a contested Republican.
That was what everyone was thinking, and it's really kind of scary. I think especially for the Democrats, it's kind of scary that the argument that some Democrats are making to their own party now is if Hillary Clinton cannot dispatch with a 70-year-old socialist in an America that would never vote for a socialist president, then how can she dispatch with someone the likes of the wiliness and the celebrity of Donald Trump?
Right, who purports to be a populist.
Absolutely. Well, and his people, his supporters claim that they see him that way too.
And so my concern is that race, the issues around race politics and all of the concerns that my community would have may get pushed off to the side given this tension between the imploding GOP, as I see it, and Hillary Clinton as she scraps to solidify her base. And yet again, African Americans are taken for granted as part of that base. That's my concern. It doesn't have to be, but that's my concern.
It's probably pretty likely to come to pass just that way, unfortunately. But at the same time, race does have a really important role to play. If you look at, for instance, when Donald Trump became the presumptive Republican nominee, Hispanic Twitter exploded with people saying, as Latinos, our job must be to keep this man from becoming president. And that was kind of extraordinary that Hispanic America could kind of come together, at least on Twitter, in that way, and it may pretend a seriously united Latino vote, which we haven't seen the power of that yet in our history. So race could matter on that score a lot.
Right, and that does introduce the question of the power of social media. Donald Trump clearly knows how to use social media, as did Barack Obama.
Absolutely.
Not clear yet whether Hillary Clinton fully appreciates that. You would think she would have learned after 2008.
She's tried, but unfortunately, there have been some very unfortunate memes that have made fun of Hillary Clinton. And Bernie Sanders supporters have done a much better job of exploiting social media.
So, in regards to social media and propaganda and things like that, how big of a role does that play in an election? Like, I know you've got like the tagline "Feel the Burn" that everyone's picked up just because it's catchy in many ways. So, what role does that play in an election?
I think it's impossible to really know because every election cycle, it's been different. So at the beginning, it was just that social media was a way for supporters to come together or for candidates to come out like Obama and rally their base, especially young people at universities, for instance. So one of the reasons one could argue that Obama won Indiana in his first campaign in 2008, a state that had not voted Democratic for president in 40 years, was because of social media and the youth vote. But then we saw in the last election cycle that Republicans got better at energizing their Get Out the Vote campaign through social media and using social media as a way for their own organizers to get out to where they needed to be to beat the Bushes and get people to vote. And Republicans took back the House. So, or enlarged their percentage in the House, took back the Senate. So I think every campaign has been different. Every cycle has been different. I don't know what it's going to be in this campaign, but I'm sure it's going to make a difference.
And it's fascinating that you use the feel the burn example when we're talking about clearly the oldest candidate in the race and his ability to energize the youth base. Again, largely using social media. So he gets it somehow, or at least his people do.
Exactly,
his people do. And so it is quite fascinating. I think really some of it's just luck. I don't know that anybody fully understands the power of social media. I've often thought about, when I think about Black Lives Matter, I've often thought about the way in which Dr. King was able to use what was new media at that time, the power of television, to turn the eyes of the nation on what was happening down south. The civil rights protesters and their interactions with police, the German Shepherd dogs, the fire hoses. And when people saw what was going on, the power of media, and he realized, I'm going to use this media and I'm going to make it visible to the world what's happening now, down here, not just up north, but to the world. And that's what people are starting to realize they can do with social media. And so Black Lives Matter and other activists are using social media in the same way, but it's a much harder medium to get your arms around. You can't control it in the same way. It's not three networks, right? As we saw this week with Facebook.
That's right.
It's not three networks. It is a much more amorphous, less tangible, harder to control phenomenon. And so I don't know that any of the candidates, they may get lucky. I don't know that any of them really have a sense of how they can marshal that resource.
And they could also get unlucky, because that's one of the reasons one could argue that Mitt Romney did so poorly was because his slip to on what he thought was a friendly audience about the takers in society, that went viral. That clip went viral on social media, and that's one of the things that killed his candidacy.
Yeah. Well, there is no private audience anymore with social media. There's no private dinner conversation. There's certainly no private fundraiser, and there's no microphone that isn't on. You have to always assume that what you're saying, especially if you're running for office, that what you're saying may wind up on Twitter, on Vine, on Facebook,
and shared.
Thank you, Chisom. Now, as this is our final broadcast for the school year, we wanted to take a moment to thank our outgoing seniors. We want to thank Nico Mendoza, our senior sports correspondent, for all of his outstanding work, as well as our ever-committed and brilliant senior arts correspondent, Ciana Montero. Their devotion, intellect, and upbeat personalities will be sorely missed in the studio, on the field, and on the stage. Next year, their successors will be Aidan Duffy for sports and Adia Weaver for arts. We will also see a transition on the board, as Chisom Ilogu will move to a full-time position of executive producer, overseeing the majority of the show's daily operations. She'll be passing on the role of senior news correspondent to Alex Small. Christian Hall will also move to a full-time position as co-head of video editing and graphics alongside Darren Shum, handing down head of videography to Ryan Reep. We will also see the addition of some new positions, including senior features correspondent, which Toby Ilogu will head. He will bring you a wide range of investigative and profile type stories. Alex Domb will continue as our head of writer, and Lisa Jiwoo Kim will continue as our head of photography. And lastly, Olivia Nisbet will be our web editor, overseeing the creation of our new website and maintaining our online presence. Now, with our team for next year in place, we'll bring you a recap of our year. We've covered House Olympics, we've rocked at the bathhouse, we've kept up with Headmaster Murray in his first year on the job, we've gone with you inside the classroom, or be that the ropes course. We've covered the arts at the Fall Musical, Mud River Stone, Winterfest, Jazz, and STC. We've rooted for Big Red on the tennis courts, in the arena, in the pool, at the squash courts, on the field, on the ice, and at Hill Weekend. We've run alongside of you, at the Color Run, and at the Big Red Race. We've caught up with many special visitors, and interviewed some of our own favorites. We've gotten updates on the new math building, we've celebrated International Night and Revisit Day. We've moderated the Presidential Forum. We've announced the new student body president. And we've said goodbye to our seniors. That is our show for Thursday, May 19th, 2016. From all of us here at L10. All right.
You said no.
That is our show from Thursday, May 19th, 2016. From all of us here at L10, thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful summer.